Hello and welcome to Unapologetics, the podcast where generally I will read a Christian article or a conspiracy theorist article or a right wing article of some sort and explain why it's stupid. That's usually how this show goes. Today it's going to be a little different. Um, I had it's going to just be kind of me breaking down a bit of a controversy that has happened uh, just recently, and I kind of want to just I feel like I have a bit more of a nuanced take on things. I don't think anybody is gonna be coming out of this, you know, super, agreeing with everything I say here. I don't know. I mean, maybe I would hope that they do, but so recently I had David Smalley on a show that I did um, and we read an article about masturbation and what the Bible says about it, and it's super funny. He's a comedian, and he's been in the atheist community for a very long time, and we had a really good time. We hung out. We read the article. We made lots of jokes. It was really funny. It went very well. One of the best, I think, guest spots I've had, honestly, as far as this podcast goes. And I had like kind of like the video version of it, and I just sort of like it was under an hour, and so like if it's under an hour, I'm actually able to put it out as a video, just by sharing it through StreamYard, with the type of package that I have, right? And so I put it out immediately. I was like, cool, yeah, this is awesome, and I put it out right away. And it didn't take but I think it was the same day. Honestly, it was the same day. Um, Someone that I highly respect, basically did a post saying, somebody had David Smalley on their show, and I'm telling them they need to take it down. Basically, they need to take it down. They need to apologize and say they'll do better about researching guests, which I did. I did all of those things. I absolutely, again, I respect this person a lot. I really, really care about them. They were like a couple of the people that gave me my first shot, of being out there, on the radio and everything. So it was it's a big deal to me, and I just know they're good people. I know they're they're just lovely, wonderful people. Um, However, I think that this is a bit of a problem that we have this kind of notion in this side of our community. And I know we got like, oh man, he's about to fucking Bill Maher out here. I go against, the wokesters and start throwing rocks at the progressive left or whatever. I think I have a bit more of a nuanced a breakdown of that, because here's the thing. Like, I have friends that I disagree with. I have friends, and some of the things that I disagree with these friends are big deals. Okay, it's not even like, it's like, oh, we just don't like the same kind of music, or we have a slightly different political position, whatever. No, like, some of these people have harmful views, very like harmful views, and I would still consider them friends. And that right there almost puts me in a place where according to a lot of the community, I'm not even really allowed to call myself a progressive according to whatever the definition is that everybody is using in the progressive community, and but I can't help it. These are good. I still think these are good people. I just think they're wrong about like things, and they're wrong, and even to a harmful degree. I think that they are wrong, and I'm trying, almost on a daily basis to like get through to these people and try to allow them to see things from a more nuanced perspective and see things from a bit more of a compassionate perspective, because I love logic, I love, and I do like debate too. That's another thing. Like, people don't like it when you debate. If you're on the progressive side, I mean, I think I don't fully understand what this whole MythCon thing was, because I think it was before I started doing anything or being involved in the community at all. But apparently there was this dude who was a complete piece of shit. Okay, I'm not gonna say like this guy, Sargon of Akkad. I don't even know if he's still going or not. Complete piece of shit. Just says like the most disgusting things to get a rise out of people. Right? He'll say the N word without even blinking. It's not like he's just a garbage fucking person, right? And he did a debate at this MythCon against Thomas Smith, who is honestly seems to be one of the most loved progressives by the community. If you pretty much ask anybody in the atheist community, like who are some of the people that you would like, you'd have a hard time believing that they like switched to the IDW or something. Like, Thomas Smith would be like the last one on the list, right? He'd be like, what? He went to the, he like switched to the IDW, whatever. He's with like agreeing with Sam Harris and stuff. Now what? Like, because he's super compassionate. He's very much listens to like the vulnerable folks, and defends them. And I I do too. I make a major point of giving a lot of extra space to vulnerable people, especially ones that I know personally. When it comes to them, saying, hey, I didn't like that you did this, or I didn't like that you did that. I give them a lot more of my mental space, than I would somebody that I just, that I know has like harmful views or is like a more centrist or right wing or whatever, right? Point is, Thomas debated Sargon at MythCon, and this is how I understand it, okay? Because I've read a few articles, I've talked to a few different people. This is the best way I can describe it. Because that debate happened, because Sargon was there at that place, and apparently, a large portion of the crowd was actually on his side. The ultra kind of like leftist progressives were like, this convention is not allowed to happen. It's not allowed to exist. And I believe even Thomas Smith said afterwards, like, I shouldn't have gone to that, which I almost actually would agree. But the fact that people are saying that it shouldn't exist, and I think because of that, it doesn't exist anymore. I think it's gone. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure that the progressives basically made sure to not give or to make sure that they do not have a convention. The mythicists in Milwaukee, and I'm not a mythicist. I don't know why they seem to be closer to like the I don't know, IDW type folks or whatever. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and say that they aren't allowed to have a convention. I mean, flat Earth people can have a convention if they fucking want to. But the main, a lot of the arguments that I was hearing about David Smalley was, he said that he defended MythCon. And, I was, okay, I again, I don't really see an issue here. And just about everything else that they said, that he said that was so bad, Um, first of all, like wasn't like as bad as I was thinking it was going to be with the reaction that I got. And then second of all, it was all from like over half a decade ago. Like nobody ever can, you know, uh, like they're not like allowed to have a platform anymore. And it doesn't, you or something. I mean, not. I mean, they're allowed to have a platform, but if you're a progressive, if you like identify as a progressive, you're not allowed to support that platform or support that they are allowed to have a platform. You're supposed to support them being completely silenced, and we don't listen to them at all. We're not going to even bother making arguments against their arguments or anything like that. I I go back and forth on these issues because I do see like problematic uh, issues when it comes to like this free speech kind of absolutism, and I definitely disagree with a lot of people on uh, the, on like the more centrist side, like Bill Maher and even Robert Stanley, where it's like a free speech absolutist. I disagree. I think there are certain speech that we should consider hate speech and treat like it's someone shouting fire in a crowded theater. I do think that that actually is a thing because now we have the internet. The internet allows people to find each other. They create little communities, and then those little communities turn into Unite the Right rallies, and then people die. So I don't know what the solution is. I really don't. But like, I see why people are against it. However, I think at the same time, like telling the mythicists that they can't have a convention is kind of crazy. And I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Of course, always I'm always open to like having the discussion and hearing people out if I'm wrong. But a lot of this stuff that happened, it was just from so long ago, and and I couldn't believe it, because if you go back to that same time, and that totally was around 2017, right? And you put on God Awful Movies, which is probably my favorite podcast of all time. It was like the first comedy podcast that I binged. I think I listened to like over 100 episodes in like 2 weeks or something. It was insane. Like it was insane. Like I binged the fuck out of that show. I was like, it's a great show. It's just awesome. Everybody loves those guys. They're called the Puzzle in a Thunderstorm LLC, and they have like 5 different shows, and they're all phenomenal. They're all hilarious. They just do a great job of doing atheist comedy, and they are very well loved by like the Thomas Smith crowd and all the ultra progressive crowd. Now, if you go back to that same time, to about the 2017 when Smalley got basically canceled, I guess is what what it almost sounds like. Uh, you know, and listen to their shows from that time. There was one guy on the show named Heath. He literally would use the N word as like a joke. I mean, he was like doing an impression of like a bigot or whatever, but he would use the actual N word and do that. That was, and it was not just once. It was pretty frequent. It was almost once per episode. Another thing that happened was Eli would say that Eli's another character on that show, or yeah, I guess character, because that's not his real name. He would say, "I want to fuck a child," and he would like almost say that a child at the end, and somebody would interrupt him or whatever, and it was like, oh, he's saying this crazy thing. But then he also switched to this JonBenet Ramsey joke, which again is a dead child. And it's just really gross kind of comedy, but of course they don't do that anymore. They've moved on past that. And I mean, I think it's a great thing that they did, but it's odd to me that the you know the things that people are saying David Smalley did was nowhere near as egregious as those infractions, I would say. But it just seems like because he wasn't as loved by that group, and he does a debate show, right? So like a lot of he's they're like, oh well, he's going to double. If you double down, like if you double down at all ever, then you're wrong. Like, then you deserve to be canceled forever, right? But I mean, that's the debate people, like like even myself included. Because I like to do debates. I have debates on this show, or on other shows that I've done, and we are looking. We come up with arguments. That's what we do. That's how our brains work. Um, but I think we admit that we're wrong if like the argumentation doesn't pan out, or you get like enough people going, you're not seeing it from my perspective, and I live a completely different life than you do. You have a lot of privilege, this, that, and the other, which makes good sense. A lot of us don't see things from everybody's perspective, and we need to try to do that more. However, it just seems so strange that it's like, why is it okay over here and not over there? To the point where, even just having him on the show, I'm being kind of like dragged over the coals. So my point, what I'm saying is like, I think we need to figure out a way to be more consistent about this. I still do consider myself a person that is on the progressive left. I love that, when people call me out, I welcome it, and a lot of times, if you like what just happened, like, hey, you need to take this down, you need to apologize. Like, I'll do that right away, almost as like a knee jerk reaction, because that's that's what I see the audience basically expecting. But I don't think that that's actually probably the best way to do things. Like I don't think that we should be doing this. I think we're squabbling amongst ourselves over small infractions. That and they may not seem small, like small infractions to you, and I appreciate that. I understand, but when we're dealing with actual fascists taking over our country, I mean, we literally have a Supreme Court that is ran by people who are ignoring the law. They're ignoring the Constitution. They're ignoring everything and giving their buddies what they want, and they're taking away the rights of honestly, the people that called me out the most. They're taking away your rights. And people like myself and like David Smalley and Robert Stanley, they're all fighting the same cause. We're all fighting against fascism, and it seems like this like little infighting, purity, whatever you want to call it, is, it reminds me, it reminds me of that part of, what do you call it? What's that movie? Vacation. Yeah. Where they're like going to they're like getting directions, and the guy, it's kind of a racist part actually. It's still funny, but it was pretty kind of rough, even for that time standards. And this guy's like, hey, first you go down here, you take a left there, you go down till you see this thing, and then by the end of it, it's this long thing, and then by the end of it, he's like, then you talk to this guy Pookie, and he'll tell you where to go, because I actually don't really know much, and it was hilarious. Like, it was a really funny part of the movie, even though it clearly has racist implications there. But while he's giving the directions, their car is being completely high, like, the wheels are being stolen off their car, they're pulling wires out, like they're just completely like stealing everything off of this car while he's distracted asking for directions from this guy, and this guy's like, giving him, hey, look over here, while everybody else comes and steals their tires and shit, right? And that's literally what's happening with our communities. We should all be maybe not as unified as the right, but we should at least understand that we're all fighting the same fight, right? Like we're all on the same side here. People kept going, "Oh man, you need to do a better job of researching guests and stuff like that." And they're like, you just one of the persons who that doesn't I won't name, but they seem like they really still, even after everything I've done, they think I'm a piece of garbage, which is whatever. That's up to them. They can think whatever they want. It's I feel bad that they think that, but it is what it is. And they were like, all you got to do is put in, uh, how did they say it? They say, oh, put in somebody's name, and then put in misogynist or transphobic or whatever, and then if something comes up, like, then that means you shouldn't have that guest. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding? Like, I could put, honestly, I could put ContraPoints transphobic, and it would come up, because she has said some things that weren't, savory, even though she's, again, clearly on the same like on the same side. We're on the same side here, but that's not a good way to research people. People are always gonna call people these types of names because people are gonna make mistakes. That doesn't mean that they are that thing. Having said something wrong, or having been wrong, and maybe even doubling down at the time when they get called out, because that's the emotional response that is going to happen 90% of the fucking time. Most people are not like me. Most people aren't going to sit there and go, hold on, maybe I'm probably wrong, because other people probably have a little bit more self-confidence than I do, but which isn't necessarily a good thing, but and I do think people should stop, and be like, maybe I am wrong, more frequently. But you're gonna find that no matter what, And at that point, this is exactly why I think the Puzzle in a Thunderstorm gang only has like 4 guests, and they even got in trouble for that because they didn't have enough of a particular demographic, and people were complaining about it, and they did what they could to correct it, but they basically just got one person of that demographic, and that's one of the 4 people that comes back on their show, because this purity cancel type stuff, is so prevalent in this community. And I just, I I sympathize. I want to say I love these people. I really do. Like, I care about these people that are, kind of the arbiters of like who we're supposed to like and who we're not supposed to like, and all that. I respect these people like crazy. Like, I love these people. They've given me a community. All the atheist community has given me a community. You know, but they're at the same time, a lot of times they'll be the same people saying that someone like Robert Stanley is a piece of trash or whatever, and he's just a garbage person and this, that, and the other. Even though when I'm going through something and like, I post something that's on Facebook, probably, that I end up usually deleting pretty quickly. Because I'm just like, I don't know, my life's just falling into pieces, whatever, just something that just proves that my mental health isn't doing well, right? The first person to call me on the phone, to talk to me, to hear a voice and like actually go, hey, are you okay, man? Is Robert Stanley. So, but these other people will sit there and say that he's garbage, that he's like a terrible person because he's had, you run the gambit. He's had everybody on his show. It's a debate show, and I think that's another thing that a lot of these folks don't like. They don't like debate because that's platforming people that you disagree with. And, I've heard plenty of the arguments that say like, everybody kind of leaves debates thinking that their side won, no matter what the debate is, no matter how it went. And then sometimes it can go really bad for the good guys, and that's true. That is true. I understand that, but at the same time, I still think that the fact that we've gotten closer and closer to like not talking to each other at all. And now, because we're not talking to the other side, we're not arguing, we're not debating with the other side. Now we're debating amongst ourselves, and we're chopping our own communities up into like shreds, and they're staying completely unified on the other side, and they're like stealing the fucking Supreme Court and shit. Okay, and they're taking rights away from people. I mean, we have to get past the. I mean, I hate to do the fucking Independence Day, you know, uh, like talk here. Like, we can't let our petty differences matter anymore, or whatever. Uh, we all got to fight the fucking actual bad guy, which is the aliens that are trying to take over our planet. you know, and that's literally where we're at here. We have actual bad guys. We have actual villains trying to take, our freedoms, our rights, and basically saying that one demographic, white, straight, cisgendered, Christian men, really have the most power in our country, and it needs to stay that way. And any attempts to change that is an attack on them, and they mobilize. They get it done. They all step in line. They don't do this divider line shit. You'll have flat earthers hanging out with fucking hollow earthers, hanging out with fucking Illuminati people, and all agreeing to fight the communist threat or whatever. They don't do this with they'll sit there and have their conversations, right? But at the end of the day, they're fighting the same battle. They're not trying to get rid of people that are fighting the same battle as they are. And I think that's one lesson that we actually do need to learn from the right, is that we have an actual villain in our society, and it is the fascists. It is the people trying to take rights away from the marginalized, and we need to be a lot more unified in fighting this battle. And I'm sure I'm going to be upsetting some people by saying this, but doing what we're doing, all you're going to do is keep pushing people to the right. I'm sorry, but that's what you're going to do. I mean, that's literally what's been happening to me. This has happened like three times to me now. Where I still can't tell you that I did anything wrong, because I truly do not believe I did anything wrong. But I've been told by everybody, oh no, you have to do this, you have to apologize, you have to think all these things, because you talk to somebody. It's, to me, it's like, are you trying to lose? Are you trying to make it so this little group of like privileged people like basically take over the fucking country? Is that what you want? Because that's what's going to happen if we keep putting up these arbitrary lines and fighting over petty differences. Now, when it comes to like me researching the guests on the show, okay, I didn't really know who he was at first. I'd heard his name a while ago. I saw No Illusions kind of like poked fun at him, I think, for like having really long episodes or something, when he was doing some like kind of like a roast of everybody at a convention. And that was like the main place I remember him from, right? And that was forever ago. And I'd heard some people say they don't like him, and I heard other people say that they do like him. And so I was like, okay, let me go listen to his show. And I did that for a couple months before I reached out. And everything that he said was extremely positive, for the cause that we are all fighting, which is the fight against fascism. He didn't rail out against the SJWs or the wokes or whatever. He didn't do anything like that, as far as I could tell, within the past few months. And I don't judge people based on things that they did years and years ago. Like, I've learned so much in just the past year. And if you looked at me and saw me like a year ago, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, like I'd be a completely different person, you know? And I look at that person and go, man, guy was fucking stupid, man. He did some really stupid stuff. And, thank goodness I wasn't famous enough for everybody to pick through everything I'd said with a fine tooth comb looking for reasons to say, fuck this guy, you know? Everybody like says, I'm like privileged, which I am privileged. Don't get me wrong. Like, I understand that. I am queer. I won't even tell that to a lot of people because it seems to make them feel better if they talk down to me, believing that I'm just a straight white guy, you know? And I am straight passing. And it makes people feel better, especially vulnerable people to talk down to people. That's, I'll let them do that. I don't care. That's like, who cares? I don't give a shit. I'm confident enough in myself that it doesn't bother me. But what does bother me is that when we lose to the fascists and they take over our country again, we already did it once, okay? And they almost basically stole it permanently. Almost. We were this close to becoming a completely fascist state where Trump was going to like just declare himself fucking king and his kids will take over and we no longer have democracy. He'll just get rid of voting and my kids, my family, royalty, blah, 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 and that's it. We almost had that happen. And here we are fighting over silly things, like things that happened years and years and years and years ago that, enough to basically chastise one another, as if they're, these few folks, and we all know who they are, like that they are, and again, they're good people that I respect, but they believe that they are the arbiters of all morality. And it's really frustrating because half the time when you ask, well, why is that the case? They get mad that you're even asking why. Like, how dare you question me? I'm the arbiter of all morality. I don't have to make arguments. I'm me, and that's kind of, and these people actually do, as vulnerable as they are, they actually have a pretty large amount of power because they have a large following that if they say, hey, everybody hate this person, and I've seen this done several times where people will go, hey, look what this person said. They'll screenshot it, they'll screenshot something they said and be like, everybody hate this person, everybody delete them, they said something, bad. And if it's something like, I did it once when the dude was being like super racist. And I was like, holy shit, this is really bad. Like, there are reasons to do that, but it was being done, far more than I think is reasonable, in this community. So, and a lot of times it was just they were wrong about something, and wrong equals evil to a lot of people for some reason. And I'm just like, that doesn't follow. Like, that's a non sequitur. Like, somebody can be wrong about something and that doesn't mean that they're evil, even if they double down on their wrongness for a time. Sometimes it takes a minute, for us to figure out that we fucked up, that we did something wrong, but we have to be able to grow. And I'm not talking about sexual assault or anything like that. Like, when people do things like that, like, I fully understand, like, getting rid of them, and being like, oh no, we have to, like, not platform this person anymore because they're dangerous. They're dangerous to the people that would be working on that platform, whatever it may be, whether it's a convention or whatever. Like, that'd be like hiring Dahmer or something, to like work an event. That's dangerous to the other people working that event, right? So that makes sense. But when people are just wrong, and even if they double down, and even if somebody really likes somebody that is, problematic, I still don't hold them as responsible. Like, we treat the people that are like, oh, but I really like the book that Shermer wrote. We treat them like they're as bad as Shermer. And that just doesn't make any sense. You know, 'cause, you know, I understand that we're trying to. There's always going to be gatekeeping in any community. You know, black folks deal with it. Oh, you're not black enough. Oh, you act too black. Or whatever. You know, pull your pants up. Like whatever it is. You know, there's always going to be um, these gatekeepers, right? But that doesn't mean that we need to all like bend over backwards constantly for these gatekeepers. You know, we need to be able to have conversations and all still continue to fight for the same goal instead of chopping our communities up into little tiny bits until we got nothing left. And then the fascists just come right in and take over and, you know, steal our fucking tires and all of our wires and everything while we're distracted, you know, drawing our, you know, these lines in the sand. I mean, I'm not saying that even that they're arbitrary. Sometimes they're pretty serious, but like at the same time, it's not reason to say, you know, we're gonna fight amongst ourselves harder than we're gonna fight the opposite side of the actual bad guys. And that's my point, you know, and I'm sure that, you know, me just saying this right now is going to be enough to uh, get people to be like, oh, fuck him forever, you know, because that seems to be the way things work in this community, which I don't know if you realize this or not. It makes people not want to be in the community. It makes people want to quit. And all it does, and guess where they go when they quit? They go farther to the right or to the center, you know, and then you're just eliminating voices. You're eliminating voices on your side because of, you know, them being wrong a couple times, you know, and you go, oh, they were wrong enough to say fuck you forever because they like a book that someone bad wrote, you know, and then they defended that person because, you know, of course they did. Like emotionally, that's how we respond to things. If we really like a person, you know, I'm sure if there was some accusation against Thomas Smith, I bet you a lot of people would be you going, no, not him, not my Thomas, you know, or I mean, so I think that we need to like really think about this stuff. And I'm not saying I'm like leaving the community or anything like that. You know, I feel like I did my part. I did what I did was right in that moment, even though I feel like it was a bit reactionary, and I didn't feel like I had time to even like really think everything through, and everything. But you know, I feel like I'm being pushed away, and again, when we lose, and if this keeps up, we will lose. Then it's going to be because of this bullshit. Like, and maybe I'm wrong about some of this stuff, and I'm happy to be convinced. I'm not Steven Crowdering this. Like, I actually will listen. I actually do listen when people tell me that I'm wrong about things. Okay, and so you know, if you have a problem with this episode, reach out. Let me know what's up. You know, and let's you know, come on the show. Let's have a conversation because we gotta be able to fix this. We gotta be able to move past this. We can't keep doing this. We're gonna lose. We're gonna lose to the fascists, who's a shrinking demographic. They're a shrinking demographic, and we're still fucking losing because of this shit. It's insane. So I'm sorry if I hurt anybody. I really, really am. I love y'all. And, you know, I have no problem being called out. And, like, we can have the conversation. I would appreciate if you called me out a little more privately. But that's okay. I mean, you still did. Like, it was done publicly, but in, like, the most private way publicly. So, like, you know. But, yeah, it was fine. And again, I love the person that did it. and I think they're great, and I respect their opinion and everything. I wish there was a way to like bridge the gap between some of us that are on the far left, and then some of us that maybe are a little bit more centrist, and maybe they do like to have dialogue between the right and the left. Because if we're just shutting down the conversation completely, and then we're gonna talk to somebody, okay? We're gonna argue with somebody. It should be the bad guys, not each other. You know what I mean? That's my point. You know what I mean? And we're getting mad at people for even talking to the bad guys and being like, here's why you're wrong, about this, that, and the other, you know. And it's like, do we boycott Politicon? Like, I mean, they have like Charlie Kirk and Sam Cedar debated on there. Sam Cedar's quite left, quite far left. TYT, people. Anna Kasparian has like debated people like Ben Shapiro on there. Are we not? Can we not do that? Like, where's the line drawn? And why? And I think, I mean, there's an obvious answer to that. Is like, yeah, if they're like a Nazi or whatever, don't don't have a debate with them. Even though I have heard the beloved Eli Bosnick say that he will have debates with Nazis. So, and I know everybody loves him, and he seems to be able to get away with things that most people don't get away with, including Smalley. But the whole thing seems. I don't know. It's. I've been going through a lot lately, personally, physically, just like so many things, emotionally and mentally, have been and having a lot of issues, and this was just sort of like, it just sort of blindsided me, honestly. And I feel like I didn't have because of I didn't have my mental health medications, things I wasn't able to kind of like think about it straight. And and kind of decide like what I actually think for myself instead of what I'm being told to think by other people. And and then they act like you're evil if you don't full on just agree with what they think, like out the gate. And and I don't. We got to be able to talk. We got to be able to have conversations. We got to be able to fight the actual bad guys. I love y'all, honestly. I love this community. It's meant so much to me. It's basically saved my life, this community. But I think that we're gonna end up hurting ourselves if we keep this up. And we gotta be able to figure out a way to move on, because otherwise we're not gonna have a community. We're just gonna have a shitload of individuals and who have zero power. And then the people that are without the most power are going to be completely fucked. And I do not want to see that happen. I mean, and we're basically already there now. They're already losing rights. Can't even go to the bathroom in 50% of the states for some people. So I don't know. I mean, I just feel like we need to figure out how to get together and be okay. And and not be picking fights, on our side. Pick the fights with the bad guys. There's plenty of bad guys for us to be turning people into bad guys over things that were said, 6 years ago. Anyway, love you guys. What do we say to the haters, discriminators, and masturbators, shamers? Fuck off.